Hey everyone, Mythicodian here, and today I want to continue to chat about Starfinder 2E classes. So again, Paizo released this at the beginning of August at Gen Con 2024 with a goal to have the full release at Gen Con 2025. So today I want to dive into the Soldier class. Now this is your Rambo, this is your action movie star from the 80s, so any Schwarzenegger movie, anything that uses mass amounts of bullets and explosions to solve all their problems. That's going to be the theme of this. Now, for this class, I will be going over a little bit of the equipment as well. I haven't done it with the other classes because their equipment hasn't been really as narrow as this one. The soldier really uses stuff that has automatic and area of effects. So I want to point those out a little bit. Just a few in the rule book. Obviously, we'll expect more. You have a few choices right now, which isn't too bad, but we want to go over a few of those when we get into it. If you have not watched my previous videos, especially on the background of Pathfinder and especially the ancestries, you'll want to go and do that quick, just because I will talk about which ancestries I think fit this class very well at the end. Again, human always fits everywhere because they have just a 2 boost, free boost, so you can mold them to whatever class you want. But I want to look at a few of the other ones I think are a little more thematic for these. Now, the playtest packets for all this stuff are free on the Paizo website, and there'll be links below to the Archives of Nethys, because many of the base rules come right from Pathfinder core, and they have not included them in the playtest. Otherwise, this book would be huge. So if you need those, Archives of Nethys is your friend. It's all free as well. And as well, Demiplane Nexus has a free character builder for Starfinder 2e playtest as well. And I'll link all that below. And hey, while you're down there looking at all those links, if you wouldn't mind just maybe going up a little bit, clicking that like button, hitting subscribe, and even ringing the bell for notifications on new videos, that would be great and super helpful for the channel. So let's get into this, shall we? All right, so first off, the thing is, the soldier is a constitution main stat. It's meant to be your lots of hit points and lots of stuff. Now, it goes a little, when you first look at it, you think it's a little off because of rules for armor and rules for bulk and stuff, but they have looked at that in their abilities, so it's not as penalizing as you'd think. Strength is always nice to have if you're going to be a soldier, but honestly, Dex is going to be your best friend for ranged attacks and things of that nature. But you do definitely want to make sure that you're cranking up your con as high as you can. All right, when we look at the character, you'll see that they're trained in perception. Everyone's trained in perception. Their saving throws are an expert in fortitude, trained in reflex, and expert in will, which is very interesting. Again, I thought the Solarian would have been trained or would have been expert in fortitude, but they aren't. They're a little different from this. So attacks, they're trained in all simple, martial, and unarmed attacks. The defenses, they're trained in all armor, which does mean you can start in heavy armor. Okay, one of their main abilities is called suppressing fire. So suppressing fire takes any weapon that has the area fire, auto fire, and we'll get into that in a little bit before we get into feats. I'll go over the equipment. And it basically will give someone the suppress condition. Suppress condition, they take a -1 attack penalty on attack rolls and -foot status penalty to speed, which is really good when you're wanting to keep everyone kind of, keep their heads down. Is the whole point of this class is you have to think of the soldier more as a area combat denial expert. They want to keep people pinned down and not moving to let their friends move around. Now, of course, you think of things like, well, hey, when you get your friends into the mix, how are the area effects and stuff going through? And we'll get into that in a second as well. So they have an ability called primary target. So when you do one of your area of effects, we'll get into those weapons, you can choose a single creature out of that, in that area, either adjacent to the center point of the attack or closest to you within the cone or line. So there's, again, we'll get into that, to be the primary target. So after resolving the effect of the attack, you make a ranged strike using your weapon against the selected target. You ignore the unwieldy trait of your weapon when using this action. So unwieldy states that you cannot use the weapon for another attack in a single turn. This basically tells you that, yes, you can ignore that, because otherwise it'd make the entire class, useless. So the follow-up strike consumes the amount of ammo, again, equal to what you need to expend, and you can't make additional strike if you don't have significant ammo. So unlike 80s action stars, yes, you do have to reload your weapon. If you successfully hit your primary target with this strike, then the target is suppressed until the start of your next turn. The strike uses the same multiple action penalty as your area, fire, or auto fire action, but doesn't count towards your multiple attack penalty. So the way multiple attack penalties work, if you're unfamiliar, your first shot, you fire at your full base. Your second shot is at a -5. Your third shot's at -10, unless it's an agile weapon. There's other rules for that. All right, let's get into some of the fighting styles. Now, again, when you look at fighting styles are your subclasses for 5e. If you think about it that way, if you're coming over from 5e. So the first one is Action Hero. There's no problem that a copious amount of bullets or laser blasts can't cure, though you can sometimes mix it up and find solutions if you need to. You're a specialist at wielding automatic weapons and employ them with devastating effect when confronted with foes. So when you successfully make a ranged strike with a weapon with the automatic trait, you suppress the target until the start of your next turn. In addition, when you auto fire, the size of your cone is equal to the weapon's full range increment instead of half. So that is a big thing. Also, when using the auto fire action, you can designate a target anywhere in the cone to be your primary target instead of the one closest to you. So it gives you a lot of options because your cone can be a fairly big size depending on the weapon. Armor Storm, basically you become the heavy fighter. You become full armor. You go as heavy as you can. Foes you suppress quickly stumble while attempting to overcome your durability, granting you an edge in absorbing their incoming firepower. You're likely to move to the forefront and try to focus the enemy's attention on yourself. You never count as being in the area of a ranged weapon when you've made the attack. You gain resistance equal to half your level, which is a minimum 1, against any attacks made by your suppressed targets. So it's really, really cool to get right in that mix. So you can disarm, grapple, reposition, shove, or trip, even if you don't have a hand free, which is the normal rule for any of those maneuvers. You must have a free hand. You gain a +1 status bonus to athletics to disarm, grapple, reposition, shove, and trip suppressed foes. So basically what you want to do is you want to open fire with your first shot, and then you would want to use your second to disarm, grapple, reposition, shove, etc. Because even though you do get a -4 to it, it would end up being a -3 because you get that +1 status bonus. So it's a little bit easier to do that. All right, the Bombard. There's nothing like a reliable heavy gun, or maybe several, to get you through tough times. So the idea for this guy is the nuts and bolts is when you attack with an area weapon, you adjust your shot to allow your allies to better avoid it. You select a number of allies within the area of your weapon's fire equal to half your con modifier. This is why having a modifier of +4 at first level is really good. It means you could ignore 2 people. The selected allies are unaffected by the attacks. And in addition, enemies who succeed but not critically succeed their save against an area attack are still suppressed until the start of your next turn. So there's always a good side to having the Bombard to close quarters. This is basically where you choose to not use heavy ranged weapons, but you start using the heavy melee weapons. When you successfully strike with a 2-handed melee weapon, you suppress the target until the start of your next turn. In addition, you gain a punitive strike reaction, which the trigger is a creature within your reach makes a manipulate action or range strike, uses a move action, or leaves a square during a move action. It foes momentary lapse in judgment, opens you up to you making a melee strike. The strike doesn't count towards your multiple attack penalty, and of course your penalty doesn't add to this. So that's what this one is. One of the things to note is unlike just a regular reactive strike, this one, if you hit, you also suppress the target as well, which means they take that -1 status penalty and the -10 land speed penalty. So that's a pretty important distinction between that and just having a regular reactive strike. The Erudite Warrior is a very interesting soldier style as well. Basically, you've come to appreciate specific facets of galactic culture and can hold your own in a conversation to avoid unnecessary conflict. However, should conflict arise, you're the first to display your aptitude with your weapons, cowing foes with your skill. If you're trained in diplomacy or society, you gain a lore skill of your choice. And when you gain armor expertise, you gain expertise in diplomacy and society, whichever one you selected. This increases to master when your skill of armor mastery goes up, etc., etc. And you also gain oppressive presence. Now, frequency is this once per round. It is 1 action. You unnerve your foes with a look. Similarly, you unnerve foes with a look or similarly attract their attention through your subtle movements or words. Target enemy creature you can see within 60 feet. The target becomes suppressed until the start of your next turn. Strikes if the targeted enemy targets you with a strike or other offensive action. It loses a suppressed condition from this effect. So basically, you want to be the one that takes attention away from the rest of your group. Now, some of the other interesting things for this class: walking armory. You wield heavy equipment and carry it. Now, this is what I was talking about. You can choose instead of your strength modifier. So some armors require a certain strength to not have penalties to stealth and speed. If you meet it with your con modifier, you can do this with your con modifier instead. So you can look at a more higher con based character and less strength. Now, if you already meet the strength requirement for the armor you're wearing, you reduce the bulk by 1 to a minimum 1, which again is good for carrying a lot of equipment. Now, in addition, you increase the amount of bulk you can carry before becoming encumbered by half your con modifier rounded up. Increase your maximum carried bulk by your con modifier. So it's really nice. And again, it's because they're favoring con more than strength, and they don't want to penalize you for doing it that way. So fearsome bulwark at 3rd level. Your sheer mass terrifies foes when they see you. You can use your con modifier instead of your charisma modifier on intimidation checks, and instead of your strength modifier on athletics checks to reposition or shove. So you literally use your bulk to move people around, which is really, really cool. I love that flavor. And again, it helps have you using your con instead of just using your strength. At 5th level, you gain expert in all of your attacks. At 7th, you gain your armor expert. 7th level is also where you get to see your DC for your class improved to expert. 17th is where you get legendary in armor. And 19th is where you're going to get your legendary soldier. All right, before we move on to feats, I do want to take a look at some of the equipment, because it is important to note that you do have a less selection when it comes to heavy weapons. So when you're looking at your equipment, things you want to look at is anything that has the automatic trait or the area trait. Now, it can have a cone, it can have a line, it can have a few different things, but these are the ones that allow you to use all your special abilities. Anything else that does not have those won't allow you to use them. Things such as your arc emitter have an area cone. The flamethrower has an area cone, has a range of 15 feet. Notice also the flamethrower says it has the unwieldy trait, because you can only use that once per turn. Things like the singing coil have an area line. The stellar cannon has a burst, and then your zero cannon has an area line as well. So those are all your martial ones. Now, when you get into your advanced range weapons, you have a few more choices. Again, advanced, you need to get certain feats to actually even use these. And they have things such as a 5-foot burst. They have cones, they have lines, etc. So you do definitely have some options under weapons, but obviously not as much if you want to use all of your abilities. When we get into some of the feats and stuff, you're going to see lots of those require you to have an area of effect weapon, either line, cone, burst, or an automatic weapon. So we're going to go over a few of the interesting feats I liked. Not all of them. I don't want to do a line by line read, but first one I liked at 1st level was Pin Down. It is a single action. Your last action was an area of fire or auto fire attack, and you're wielding a weapon with the area or automatic trait. So again, you're going to need to have these weapons. You can suppress creatures in your blast zone by pinpointing a shot to impact near them. Select one creature that was in the area of effect of your prior attack. That creature must attempt a save against your attack again, as though it were in the area of effect from the prior attack. This effect suppresses the target, but doesn't deal damage. You don't get to double dip on the damage. But if there's someone you really wanted to pin down, you really needed them to, you can force them to make that saving throw again. And hopefully, if they fail it this time, then they're under the effects of your suppression. I liked Ready Reload. It was a single action. Again, you're wielding a two-handed ranged weapon with a reload of 2 or more. And your last action was an attack action that consumed ammunition from the weapon. So reloading the weapon can be a delicate process, but you've mastered how to do this in the middle of combat. Beginning the process while still in the act of firing, you interact to reload your weapon, reducing its reload cost by 1. Unlike most interact actions, you don't need a free hand to reload your ranged weapon this way. I love that one. It gives you a little bit extra time to reload. Again, another solid one at 1st level is a free action. It is Warning Spray. I love free actions, especially ones like this where you roll initiative and you're wielding your weapon and it has the area automatic trait. Basically, as combat begins, you unleash an undirected snapshot with your weapon, forcing advancing foes to cower on approach. Make an area effect or auto fire with your weapon. Your selected weapon cannot be a grenade or missile launcher. Creatures in the area take no damage, but must still make the saving throw to avoid being suppressed or take other effects that would normally happen. Again, I do really love the stuff they're doing with on initiative. You can do these things. So honestly, I would probably take this as my first level feat, because when you open it up and if, you got a big area between you and your opponents, this is a great way to just basically stop them. It gives them that -10 speed penalty. So that's important. Can really set the pacing of the combat when you can deny your enemy mobility. Second level, I like the 2 action. You have to go through me. You brace to defend your allies behind you. Make an area fire or auto fire until the start of your next turn. If you would be moved by a forced movement effect, you move 10 feet less. Until the start of your next turn, you gain the living shield reaction. Using a move action ends this effect. So basically you stick yourself in place. And a lot of people know that if you're already burning through 2 actions, your third action is probably going to be another shot or something. You're not moving anyway, but you can activate your living shield as a reaction. The trigger is an enemy damages your ally who is benefiting from cover provided behind you. And for those that don't know, in Pathfinder, if you're standing behind a ally, they actually do provide you light cover, which is important to know. And it goes both ways, but that's very important to know that having that sort of thing does make it a lot more tactical. The effect: reduce the triggering damage your target ally takes by amount equal to your level plus your con modifier. So at first level, it could be 5 points, and that could be all the damage they were about to do. So very important for that sort of thing. So I really do like this one at second level. Now remember, you take an amount of damage equal to the amount negated. So you're going to absorb it. But if you're sitting there with a +4 con, plus your 10 for your class, you're at 14, plus your ancestry, which could be up to another 10, you can suck up a lot of damage at first level. At fourth level, I like the 2 action shoving shot. Requirements: you're wielding a weapon with the area effect or automatic trait. Again, these are pretty much all going to be coming into play. So use the blast your weapon to push back your adversary in preparation for an explosive shot. Attempt an athletics check to shove a target within your weapon's first range increment, and then make an area fire or auto fire ranged attack, selecting the target of your shove as the primary target. This attack uses the same multiple attack penalty as your shove. If you're using area burst weapon, the target of the shove is pushed away from the center point. If your shove failed, decrease the DC of your area attack by 1, 2 on a critical fail. So this is a good way to clear people out from being right in front of you, getting them positioned around. You'll notice a lot of stuff for the soldier is repositioning people, getting the battlefield moved around the way you want it. So there's a lot of stuff that has to do with shove and reposition, tripping, disarming. All that stuff is really, really, really important to the concept of your character. Widen Area is also a very solid feat at 4th level. It's a single action. Again, you're wielding a weapon with the area automatic trait. You set up your area weapon to affect more targets. If the next action is to make an attack with a weapon that has an area or burst or cone, line, etc., add 5 feet to the radius of a burst that normally has a radius of at least 10 feet. A burst with a smaller radius is not affected. Add 5 feet to the length of a cone or line that is normally 15 feet or smaller. Add 10 feet to the length if it is a larger cone or line. You get to cover a lot more area with this. At 4th level, I think I'd still go with shoving shot. That'd be my preference, but Widen Area is another solid one as well. One of the fun ones I thought at 6th level was Fog of War. Again, it's a 2 action. It's taking up a lot of your action economy. But the requirements, again, you're wielding an automatic weapon, area effect weapon. The smoke from your unleashed weapon conceals you from your enemies who may be left standing. Make an area fire or auto fire attack. You leave behind a cloud of smoke within the area that lasts until the end of your next turn or unless dissipated by a strong wind. Creatures in the area have the concealed condition, and all the creatures are concealed to them. So it's a good way to just kind of make a big smoke screen, especially if you and your team are trying to fall back, if you're trying to get people moved around. Again, your operatives trying to sneak around the side or whatever. Having that kind of concealment really helps to help set up other actions further on down the line. All right, come on. Who doesn't love the phrase, "I'll be back"? It is a free action. Once per day, you're unconscious and regain consciousness. Even when you're down, you somehow get right back up into the thick of things. Once recovered, you can immediately stand and interact to draw a weapon and grab an unattended weapon. So when you are knocked out, you drop everything in your hands and you fall prone. This, as a free action, allows you to immediately stand and grab your weapon or your unattended weapon or draw a new weapon, etc., etc. So this is really good. I think it'll be less important as you gain levels because it's really tough to drop people down to 0. But remember, you are trying to be the prime person to be absorbing the damage. So at 6th level, this is a fun one, but I don't think it is the best 6th level feat, but it sure is an interesting niche one. And if you have it, when you need it, you'll be very happy to have it. All right, 8th level, I like to Bring It On. It's single action. Now this is wielding a two-handed weapon. So you lower your guard while bracing yourself for the inevitable blows of your predatory opportunist. Until the start of your next turn, you take a -2 circumstance penalty to your AC and gain resistance to all damage equal to half your level. So this would be 4 at 8th level. If you have the Armor Storm fighting style, you gain resistance equal to your level against attacks made by suppressed enemies. So that would be 8. And if you start removing 8 points off of every single hit coming in, that is a lot of extra, basically not healing everyone else has to do to keep you alive. So that's a very important one. And I like that one because it is looking at the two-handed weapon fighting instead of just the guns. All right, the other fun one I thought was Deflect Missile. It is a reaction. Trigger, a bomb or missile is thrown or launched within or through your firearm's range. Requirement, you're wielding a weapon with the area or automatic trait. Soldiers who fight from the trenches often use bursts of automatic fire to deflect incoming bombs and missiles by shooting them out of the air. You see a lot of this on movies and TV shows, especially when it's a nautical theme, such as my absolute guilty pleasure, Battleship, with I think it's called the Seawig, which is basically their missile defense that's on most combat ships. They fire off something ungodly, like I think it's 9,000 rounds a minute or something like that, and they take out missiles and stuff coming at them. Basically, you're doing the same thing, just on a little smaller scale. Use 1 expend of the weapon's ammunition, make an attack roll against the reflex DC of the missile or the grenade attack. On a success, you deflect it, causing it to veer harmlessly off course or fail to detonate entirely. So that's a great reaction. Now, a lot of times you don't have a lot of reactions on this class, so this is really nice to have. I like seeing the extra reactions on a character. This is a pretty solid feat at 8th level if you're using your heavy weapons. At 10th level, I really liked Anchoring Impacts. Your prerequisite, you have to have suppressing fire. Your suppressing attacks can pin down foes in place, preventing them from moving at more than a crawling pace. When you suppress a target with one of your attacks, you increase the penalty to -20-foot status penalty for the duration of the suppressed condition. If the effects that imparted the suppressed condition was a crit, or the target is critically failed on their saving throw, they also become stunned 1. Now, when you drop your opponent's speed by 20 feet, that is pretty much putting them to a 5-foot or 0-foot movement. Not many creatures or people have movements that surpass 25 unless, certain instances, or they have, augmentations or whatever, but most people move at 25. So this really, really slows them down. And of course, being stunned is even crazier. Come get some. Reaction at 10th level. Once per day, you're reduced to 0 hit points and dying. So you fight on to the absolute last, pushing yourself to make 1 last attack at a foe. Make a melee or ranged strike with a -2 circumstance penalty, or make an area fire or auto fire attack with the DC decreased by 2. Once you make a strike as part of this action, you fall unconscious. So it's basically you get 1 last gasp and then you pass out. But I love that one. Again, it's a fun reaction. How many times are you going to use it? Hopefully not often, especially at 10th level. You should be pretty beefy at that point. You'll likely have well over 100 hit points. Taking you down should be a chore for any party unless everything's concentrating fire on you, which technically is kind of your job. Another great 10th level feat is a free action called My Little Friend. It's a once per round action. Whether it's your first or your most powerful or just your most expensive, you have a weapon you favor over any other. You can only have 1 such favored weapon. If you lose your favored weapon, you can name a new one during your daily preparations. When you suppress a target with an attack from your favored weapon, you can attempt to demoralize that creature as a free action. A creature targeted by this is immune for the next 24 hours. But I love the fact that you have a special friend, you have a name on it. You see that all the time. Peacemaker puts his Dove of Freedom on every gun. Christmas from Expendables has stuff written on his weapons. It's always hilarious to have people naming their weapons. It is a trope that you see all the time in action movies, and I absolutely love that kind of feat. At 12th level, I like Bullet Hell. It is a 2 action though, and you're wielding automatic area cone weapon. Now, this is one of the first feats that actually says it has to be a specific type of area. So it's not a line, not a burst. It has to be a cone. You fire your weapon in Sustained burst to unleash a consistent deluge of firepower that causes terrain to become treacherous to all those attempting to move through it. Make an area of fire, auto fire attack with your weapon till the start of your next turn. Any creature that moves through the area you attack takes D4 damage of the same type as the weapon fired per square traversed, with a basic reflex save made at the end of each move action they make through the area. On a failure, they become suppressed until the start of your next turn. So again, you're doing damage per square, and if they're suppressed, they lose 10 feet of movement on top of all of that as well. Other 12th level one I liked was Hammer the Nail. The prerequisite is shoving shot, which is why I pointed that out a little bit ago. You adjust your angle of your firepower to maximize the impact of your shot on your foes' bodies. Increase the distance you shove your opponent with shoving shot to 10 feet on a successful or 20 feet on a crit. In addition, on a crit success, the target is knocked prone after moving. When you use the shoving shot, you also shove the target 5 feet on a fail. So it's a nice way to bulk up your existing feats. At 14th level, I like the 2-action Special Delivery. You're wielding a weapon with the area or automatic trait and are adjacent to an ally. So again, you have to be beside someone. You can quickly adapt your weapon to launch your ally, either with the force of the weapon or its explosion, and launch them across the battlefield. Pick a wielding adjacent ally of up to your size or smaller, and move them to an unoccupied space you can see within the first range increment of your weapon. Their movement doesn't trigger reactions. Your ally ends this movement on their feet and doesn't take damage from the fall. If your ally ends this movement within melee reach of at least one enemy, they can make a melee strike against an enemy with their reach as a reaction. If that attack hits, the creature becomes suppressed. So there's a lot to this feat, but at 14th level, I kind of expect things to have a little bit to it. But I love the fact that if you're large, you can pick up another large person and move them. If you're medium and small, etc., but you can move them to within the first range increment of your area effect or automatic weapon, which can be pretty decent. At 16th level, I like Light 'em Up. It's a 2-action again. You're wielding a weapon with an area or automatic trait. Your opponent can run, but they can't hide. You spray your area weapon in a general direction of an unseen enemy, revealing its location. Make an auto fire area fire attack. If the primary target is concealed, you don't need to attempt a flat check to target it. And if it's hidden, the DC of the check is 5. Normally, if they're hidden, it is 11. When you suppress a concealed creature with this attack, the debris around it. When you suppress a concealed creature with this attack, the debris around it helps reveal its current position and no flat check is needed to target it. If it is hidden, the DC of the flat check becomes 5 and the creature can't become undetected. This benefit lasts as long as a creature remains suppressed. So a really good way to stop people who are sneaking around, who are invisible, or have other skills, and it will help everyone in the group because they'll know where he is. 18th level, I like Spread the Love. You're wielding a weapon, area or automatic trait. You line up your attack to blast 2 targets within your blast zone with equal ferocity. Make an auto fire or air fire attack. Choose 2 different targets to act as primary when resolving the attack. So you do get to attack more people. Again, 18th level. How many people are going to get to 18th level? Probably not many, but it's a good feat when you finally get up there. The 20th level feat I want to look at is Hybrid Technique. It is a 2-action. You're wielding a weapon with the area or automatic trait. You combine methods into a new deadly hybrid technique. Choose 2 soldier feats and take 2 actions and require you to wield a weapon with 1 or more specific traits. Make a single auto fire area fire attack with benefits and additional effects of both feats. So again, 20th level, you're not going to be getting to 20th level very easily, but this is a great way to get to combine some of your abilities to really kind of wreak havoc on the battlefield. So for ancestries, there's a few I would suggest that you could look at for sure. The Shiren is a con wisdom base, so that's good for certain skills. That's good for your will saving throw. And of course, your Vesk. It's very traditional looking. I mean, that's the main character on the page here. They have a strength con boost, so that's always good. The Yosoki are really good if you choose con as your free boost because they do have a dex bonus. And same goes with the android. So one of the things you have to look at when you're looking to create these characters, the ancestry, my main thing would be it doesn't have a con negative to it, a con penalty. If it has a boost to it, go for it. If it has the free boost, put your free boost into your con. Anything will make a fun soldier as long as it doesn't have a con penalty. As I mentioned in my other videos, one of the things you need to be aware of is in this playtest, there are no rules for archetypes. So you really can't multi-class in this. Basically just play the base class as you go up. Don't worry about multi-classing. I wouldn't bother about it. Again, if you're a GM, don't even try to do rules on your own for that, because that's not what this playtest is for. That's a wrap on the Starfinder playtest of the Soldier. Again, thank you very much for hanging out with me in this lengthy video. Let me know in the comments what you like about this Walking Arsenal of Freedom. What do you think are some of their positives? What do you think are going to be some of their weaknesses? Would it be a class you play? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments below. That's it for me today, and I'll see you all in the next video where we'll talk about the Weird Witch Warper. If you're enjoying the content and want to see more, please remember to hit those like and subscribe buttons, even ring that bell for notifications on new videos. It really, really helps out the channel a lot. Make sure you comment below, even if you just leave your favorite emoji, and it'll help the YouTube infamous algorithm to bump this up and get more eyes on it. If you're interested in help supporting the channel, you can take a look at my Patreon or hit the YouTube membership. Both provide exclusive access to Discord channels in my Discord, among other perks. But in the meantime, in between time, that's it for me, and may all your games be full of myth, mirth, and magic. Bye for now.